In this video, I'm going to talk about different command line utilities available in specifically Windows operating system, and some of the utilities can be used in different operating systems as well. Now, in this exercise, I'm going to cover basic introduction about the command line utilities, different command sets, how to install the different command line utilities, how to update the command line utilities, and how to view the apps. Now, you might have seen a lot of icons within your operating systems, like the app icon, which is available to you, but you might have not even used that, due to either maybe you might have not known what that icon represents, or maybe that might have not come into your, say, scope while developing any application. Now, as you see in the screen, there are different kind of icons, okay, which I have installed, like a kind of an app which I've installed, and that's why it has come into the start menu. Now, some of the items listed over here are basically used for development. Okay, now the development with regards to Azure, Power Platform, or a simple operating system commands. Now let's go one by one. The first one is the command prompt. This is a very basic command prompt which is available with Windows. Okay. Now there are four different Windows PowerShell flavors. Like one is Windows PowerShell, Windows PowerShell x86, Windows PowerShell ISE, Windows PowerShell ISE x86. Now x86 represents the 32-bit architecture, and Windows PowerShell ISE or Windows PowerShell represents the 64-bit architecture. So by default, if the number is not there, I'll just assume it's x64. Okay, so we have a 32-bit architecture PowerShell and a 64-bit architecture PowerShell. Uh, then we have PowerShell 7. Okay, now PowerShell 7 or PowerShell is different from Windows PowerShell. Okay, I know it is a bit confusing, but like I will cover all the differences in this upcoming video series. Now, then there is a Node.js command line. Then, for every Visual Studio version you install, like say I've installed Visual Studio 2019, I get a developer command prompt. So maybe for all the newer version, you may get another developer command prompt. Then there is an Azure command prompt SDK, Azure CLI, Power Platform CLI. Now, this is a bit interesting, Power Platform CLI, because it does not have a specific app for it. You need to open a command line or maybe a PowerShell and then execute that program. Okay. Then there is a Cloud Shell. Then there is a GitBash and many more you may encounter in your development journey. Now, this is how the icon looks like. Like this is a command prompt icon. This is a Windows PowerShell. Now, if you see Windows PowerShell icon, there are two icons. Now, one is 32-bit and another is 64-bit. Then we have Windows PowerShell ISE. ISE is integrated scripting environment. Okay, now this is again 32-bit and 64-bit. If you install Node.js in your machine, then you get Node.js command line. Then there is a PowerShell 7. Now this PowerShell 7 is specifically for other operating systems as well. Like now, if you see Windows PowerShell, it is exclusively available only for Windows operating system. But PowerShell 7 goes beyond that, and it is used for, it can be used in other operating system. It will have a limited set of commands, as it needs to be compatible with all other operating systems like Unix, Mac OS, and like Red Hat, those kind of operating systems. Then you have a developer command prompt for VS 2019, and then we have a PowerShell 7, PowerShell new version preview. Okay, now, remember, Windows PowerShell is based on the old .NET framework. Okay, PowerShell 7, which is compatible with various other operating systems, is based on .NET Core. Okay, earlier it was called as PowerShell Core, but now it is called as PowerShell. And then, like people mostly refer it as PowerShell 7 because of the latest version, which is currently available. Then you have Cloud Shell. If you go to portal.azure.com, if you log into your Azure environment, then there is a possibility that you can encounter an icon like this, and then you can uh, trigger a Cloud Shell, which will allow you to run Azure commands on the fly without even having any of this command shell available within your operating system. Now, this is how the command line looks like. So as you see over here, this one. is basic Windows command prompt. So it comes, it's the first command shell, I would say, for Windows, whereby you can write all the operating system related commands. Uh, PowerShell 7, again, I told you that this is multi OS compatible PowerShell, whereby you can run this command on various operating system. Git cmd, when you install Git within your operating system, you get a separate command line whereby you can execute all the Git based commands. Then Azure CLI, here you can run all the Azure related commands, AZ commands. Then you have VS Code. In VS Code also you get something called as a terminal, and the terminal can integrate various command lines like PowerShell, Bash, and so on and so forth. Now, here are some of the URL. Okay, so if you see on the left hand side, I have listed down all the command line programs. Now, this is not limited. This is like there can be other command line as well, but I've just picked up the one which is relevant to me as of now. But there are other like Git, Node.js, and so on and so forth, which I'll try to cover this in my upcoming videos. However, for this table, this is the limited set. Uh, the corresponding item is the install URL. So if you navigate to this URL, you can install this particular application. Now, remember, you cannot install directly Windows PowerShell, okay, Windows PowerShell ISE or Windows PowerShell x86, x64, because it comes by default with the operating system. Okay, you can install it as a separate utility, but then by default, it comes as a package, with your operating system. Now, same goes with command prompt. So command prompts also comes with the operating system. So I've just written down Windows 10 11 because that's the relevant operating system as of now for all of us. Uh, Power Platform CLI, there is no specific app for it. Okay, so you need to install Power Apps CLI, and then you can use any of the command prompt, whereby all the libraries will be loaded, and then you can execute all the Power Platform related commands. Okay, now these are the corresponding version commands. Like if you want to see what kind of version that particular command line is, then you can display all those things over here. Okay, now remember, for command prompt for Windows will always display the operating system version number, because there's no specific independent version number for that application. Okay, now once you install the command line application, then quite possible it may get outdated over a period of time. Now then you need to update that command line. Now there are multiple ways. I've listed only the command line based approach, whereby you can upgrade the uh, command line programs. Now for PowerShell 7, there is a command called as winget upgrade dash dash id microsoft.powershell. The moment you do that, it will try to check within the store whether there is new version available or not. And same goes with Azure CLI easy upgrade. And for Power Platform CLI Speck install latest. Now for Windows PowerShell and command prompt, as it comes with the part of operating system. So it comes by default as a part of operating system. So it updates with the operating system version. Okay, so here I have listed down, I've run all the command, and then I've listed down all the latest version of, say, in different command line programs. So this is command line, this is PowerShell 7, this is PowerShell ISE, this is again PowerShell, but then I have used the Azure library, and this is command line for our operating system. Now, PowerShell. PowerShell is like open source, so you can find all the source code related to PowerShell in GitHub. So you can navigate to the GitHub application, and then you can try contributing to the code, or maybe you can view the code what is available within PowerShell. You can suggest some feature to Microsoft. And so on and so forth. Like you can contribute, you can provide your input as a part of community development. Okay, so let me just show you how that all the command line looks in my application. So uh, if I click on the start button, I have just segregated all these things over here in command shell. So if you see this particular section, okay, now this section has command prompt, Windows PowerShell, PowerShell ISE, Windows PowerShell, PowerShell ISE, Azure SDK, developer command line, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let me uh, show you first the command prompt. Okay, so if I right click the command prompt, now I have an option. I can click on more and then say run as administrator. So if you want to run a command which is more privileged, then you need to run this as an administrator. Uh, I'll not do that for a moment. I'll just type in command prompt, and then I will be presented with the screen command. So here it lists down the version number of the operating system. Now for command prompt, if I just type say VER, okay, then it will list down the version number of the command prompt. Basically it is the version number of the operating system, underlying operating system. I can run some commands like cls. Okay, and let's see, if I type help, what happens. It lists down all the commands which is available within the command prompt application. Now I'm not going to go into more detail, but then command prompt is basically used to have that communication channel open between the user, service, and the operating system. Okay, so the main purpose is operating system. If you want to query something within the operating system like resources or a disk or drive or folder or files, then you use command prompt. Now PowerShell. Now if I just run this PowerShell, then it will show me that okay, this is the Windows PowerShell, okay, which comes as integrated with Windows. So now here, in order to see the version number, I just need to type ps version. Okay, and if I put a tab, then it will prompt me for that other command, available command, and this is the version. So now if you see this PowerShell version which comes integrated with the operating system is 5.1. Okay, and you can see the build and the revision version. Now this is different from PowerShell 7. Now this PowerShell is only available for Microsoft Windows operating system 10, 11. Okay, now you can't run this command, okay, in other operating system. Now let me again, if you want to see the version number, you can run that same command $ps table.ps version. Let's just type ps version table. Now it will list down what kind of operating system, what kind of build version I have, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it will list down all those things. Now if I run something called as PowerShell 7, okay, now this is PowerShell 7 interface. Okay, uh, now this is multi operating system compatible. Okay, so you can run this command in various operating system as well. So ps version table, let me see what is available. Now here if you compare, now this is 7.4. Okay, this is 7.4 and ps edition is core. Okay, so this comes from the .NET core application. Now here it is 5.1, so this is predominantly Windows operating system. Okay, this is compatible with all the operating system, including Windows. And you can see all the build version. You can see the compatible version. So now this PowerShell 7.4 is compatible with PowerShell 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's just dot dot dot. So that means it's compatible with all the future, all the past PowerShell version. So like this, you can see the comparison. So again, I told you like PowerShell 7 here, it is compatible with other operating system, non-Windows operating system. So yeah, and now this is PowerShell, Windows PowerShell. This is PowerShell 7. Now there is something called as PowerShell ISE, which is mostly used by say beginner who wants to explore PowerShell, and also people who want to do a scripting in the PowerShell environment. So it looks something like this. Okay. Now again, this is a bit more advanced. Okay. Now here, as I type in, it gives me an IntelliSense, and then I can uh, get those commands. Okay, so same command I executed. Now this is based on Windows PowerShell. It is not Windows PowerShell 7. Here you get a nice window, and then here you can write all your scripts. Okay, now you can write multiple scripts over here. Okay, and you can execute those scripts over here. So you get a bit of visual interface, and also if you click on the modules over here, you will be able to see all the modules which are installed within your system. Okay, Now, I will cover this in a separate video on Windows PowerShell ISE, but here you can see all the Windows PowerShell related commands, and then you can see in a user interface. So yeah, so that's about Windows PowerShell ISE, and then there are other PowerShells, like there is a PowerShell preview. Okay, so if I click on PowerShell preview, this is the newer version of PowerShell. Let me open the PowerShell 7. So the PowerShell version 7 is 7.4.0, and PowerShell preview, let's see what's the version is. It's 7.4.0-rc.1. Okay, $ps version. Okay, so this is the release candidate, and it will have some additional functionality compared to PowerShell 7. So it's like, I'd say, the next version of PowerShell in the making. So if you want to get a sneak peek of what is available within the new PowerShell, then you can install PowerShell 7 preview. Okay, uh, then then you have git command, then you have Node.js command line, Azure command prompt, developer command prompt for VS 2019, and so on and so forth. Okay, so in this upcoming video series, I'll try to cover some of the functionality available within PowerShell, and specifically around Dynamics Power Platform area. So just keep a watch on it. Yeah. So that's it, folks. This is all about different command lines available within your operating system for developing applications, connecting to services, and connecting with operating system related applications as well. Thanks for watching.